So, lying down is the theme for now. And maybe closing the eyes once you are lying on your back, comfortable, warm, and supported by whatever you feel is right. Noticing whether you're feeling rather heavy and you are just waiting to lie down, or if you're feeling light, or if there's a state somewhere in between. Allowing yourself to feel whatever it is that comes up. And even noticing thoughts, pleasant, unpleasant thoughts. Taking these ideas maybe also into the practice. Just being aware. And if you struggle with that and the mind is just wandering off and way into a different direction, invite it to return rather than getting upset about it. It is the nature of the mind to distract us. Now, once you have explored a little bit what it's like to lie there, and you might have become aware of bodily sensations as well. Taking this in and letting it be. I then invite you to bring your awareness to your breathing. And to just feel the breath as it's moving in and out of your nose. Not much more. Maybe you're noticing that there's a different quality in each nostril. Or maybe just one more open than the other. I invite you to begin today with a deep diaphragmatic breathing and only focusing on that for a little bit. So you're basically just breathing in through the nose and allowing the lungs to expand, and with that the diaphragm pushing down, and as a reaction the belly is expanding. And then as you're breathing out, you're letting your belly fall again and you're observing the air leaving the nostrils. So little effort for now, and just breathing down deep into your abdomen, exercising your diaphragm. The card, and with that maybe a bit of an idea or an intention for the practice, comes from the Rumi oracle, and the card's named From Nothing to Everything. The poem that comes along with it is very short. Oh, my friend, if you are longing to be written on, become a blank page. Have you been shedding your skins, your layers, your certainties? Gone are fixed identities and defined opinions. Keep casting those shackles aside, even if you fear you're releasing too much, and then perhaps you shall cease to exist. You shall only cease to exist as you have known yourself to be thus far. An emanation of you awaits, blazing angel. Something more beautiful and true. Yet here you are at the pruning stage, like a gardener for the soul. Shall the garden spring back to life? Or will the enthusiastic denuding process be rather too much and unintentionally kill off the garden altogether? Fear not. Your soul is made of hardy stuff. It can handle a lot of culling and will shine even brighter for it. There is a greater story to be impressed upon your essence than the one you are currently dreaming up. Though you are brilliant, no doubt about it, there is one who is even more so. The imagination of this great writer to be beyond your comprehension. The stories that pour forth from that cosmic poet in every moment are so rich, they inspire the creation of art and music. One such story is especially created for you. Yes, you. The starring role and all the best supporting cast. You shall gasp in wonder, awe, glee and delight when you hear it. It is a great romance, a great adventure, with an ending truly spectacular and divine. Would you wish to hear it? Become attentive now. Put your own tales aside, as dramatic as they may seem right now, and prepare to be entranced by the greater storyteller, the living poet of love, as you are entranced in a tale of your unfolding divine destiny. As beautiful as this may sound, we often struggle with the letting go part. And this is part of our yoga philosophy as well, where we tend to attach. We're filled with fear. So maybe you take these ideas into your practice, noticing your own fears, attachments, and worries and thoughts. But maybe also noticing how you're able to open up and to let be. Let's change the breaths for that reason. Keep the in-breath the same, the expansion and the movement of the diaphragm. And now strengthen on the out breaths, pulling the lower belly down and inwards. As you're breathing in, the belly is expanding. And as you're breathing out, you're pulling the lower belly in and lightly even down towards the tailbone. Staying with this idea of your breath as we will start our first movement. For the first movement, we keep it simple. I will ask you to just maybe remove any cushioning underneath the knees. If the cushion under the head is thin, it may stay there. And from there now, legs could be out long or your feet on the ground. That's depending on your lower back. We will bring the right knee into the chest and just giving that a little squeeze inwards. Let's release that slightly when inhaling, but keep a hold. And when breathing out, hugging the knee back in towards you. Now, as this is a simple thing, let's repeat that for a few more breaths. And maybe noticing, where is the body holding on here? Or is it at all? And the next time you're hugging your knee in, keep it quite close to you. Breathe in. And when you're breathing out, lifting the head and the shoulders and drawing your nose up towards your knee. As you're inhaling, you're lying back down. And on the exhalation, we'll repeat that. So please notice also if anything doesn't work for you, to feel free to step back to the previous step. Now, to put more strength into this practice, you could, as you're lifting the upper body, you also lift the extended leg or the leg on the floor just a little bit off the ground. Then hold when you're lifting next. Flex into the foot if your leg is extended. And then only release the upper body down. Holding your legs still slightly off the ground. And then lowering that leg down towards the mat. Let's release the hold on the knee and place your arms down by your sides. Now flexing your right foot. On an exhalation, start to extend this right leg slowly just above the ground. And again, up to you how high or low you will be. Then release this leg down, relaxing both legs and let your arms fall away from the body like a return to the familiar Shavasana. From here, bring your left knee over the chest, giving the left leg a squeeze in towards your body. Right foot could be on the ground for support if needed. And your left knee will move slightly away from you while you're keeping a hold on the inhalation and you're hugging it deeper on your out-breath. And if the strengthening breathing technique resonated with you and you've lost it now, you might return to it. When you're next hugging your knee and keep it there, breathe in. And on the exhalation now, lifting your nose up towards the knee. And you inhale, lying back down. On your out breath, lifting. You could keep going just with that, or you could start to lift the other leg just off the ground. But keep lowering it as you're lying back, unless you want to work really strongly, which you're free to do as well, if it suits your body at this moment. And with the next one, I invite you to pause, to hold. Keep yourself lifted. And then only releasing the upper body down, keeping a hold of a lifted leg. And then also releasing the leg down. As you let go of your knee, begin to flex the foot and let your arms come down alongside the body. Wait for your out breath, your core is on, as you're slowly extending the left leg out, and ideally that might be just off the ground. Then release this leg too, and relax back into Shavasana, as if you were dropping from all of the action away into stillness. Let's then bring the right leg back up and in, but this time instead of interlacing over the knee or the shin, interlace behind the thigh. Starting to extend the leg upwards. Now, if that feels good, you could flex the foot and maybe even fully extend the leg. Whatever that means for you. It's not about what it looks like on the outside. And as you're breathing out, then bringing the whole leg in a bit closer towards you using your hands. Now you might also choose to flex into your left foot as you continue this drawing in to bring some space into the back of your leg. I invite you then to keep the leg up there. You could relax the foot. You could also choose now to place your right hand or its fingertips behind the head, just as a cushioning to support the neck. From there, lifting the head and the shoulders and keeping your gaze up. And then as you're reaching up with the left hand to aim and touch your toes, then release the shoulder into the socket, keep the fingers pointing up, and then reaching up again. So I would breathe in to reach up and out to release slightly, but maybe your head and shoulders stay off the floor. Your gaze is up towards your toes, and you might keep going just like that, supporting your neck. And there could be this brief pause now at the end of the inhalation where you're reaching up and then releasing a little bit more. Stay with that. Breathe in, hold there for a moment, and then release it. 3 more. That little hold of breaths where you really feel the muscles across that left side. And then release the upper body. Your arms come down by the sides. You might flex the foot again and be mindful of your lower back. Engage the lower abdomen. And as you're breathing out, lowering the straight leg down towards the floor. But please bend it at any stage that might be required. And then drop back into your Shavasana where you're letting go of all the control. Bringing your left leg in. Interlacing the hands maybe in the odd way behind the thigh. And then extending the leg. As you flex the foot. And you might extend the leg all the way. And again, this doesn't have to look a certain way. It's just a feeling of all the way. From here, as you're breathing out, draw this straight leg a bit closer in using your hands. And then relax that slightly when you're inhaling. And repeat that a couple more times. Once you've done so, let go of the hands. Left hand or its fingertips coming behind the head. Right arm will reach upwards and stay there for the duration of this movement. We're lifting the head and the shoulders off the floor, and you will use your hand or fingers as a shelf for the head. Now first we'll move, breathing in to lift fingertips towards touching the toes, and breath out to lower shoulder into the socket and the upper body a little bit lower. If you can, keep your shoulders off the ground, the gaze up towards the toes as you keep moving in this way. And from here we'll do a few rounds with a pause. So at the end of your inhalation, when you're at your highest point, hold the breath for a moment and then release back slightly. Breathing in, holding at the top and releasing slightly. We'll go for 3 more. And once completed, we will lower the upper body and bring the arms back down by the sides, palms to the floor, left foot is flexed, lower abdomen engages, and as you breathe out, the straight leg lowers down, or maybe you're bending your knee on the way. Relaxing the body once more completely into Shavasana. I will ask you today to bring your legs out quite wide. Wider than the mat, and flexing into both of your feet. Placing your hands from here onto the lower abdomen. Most of you will know this movement takes us upwards. Now it's up to you how far upwards it does. Notice how you are positioned with the hands on the belly, the elbows in a certain relation to the torso and the shoulders relaxed. We will breathe in through the nose here and out of the mouth, lifting the upper body, looking to the space between the feet. When breathing in, lie all the way back down. The elbows will now be off the ground, but try and keep them in that relation to the torso, rather than using your elbows to force yourself upwards. Keep them in there and instead using your lower part of the belly to help you. Pushing the breath out of the mouth might help to engage the core a bit further. If any of you is able to sit up all the way in this pose, feel free to do so. Just 2 more. And then as you're lying back, release the arms alongside the body. We will have a shot on sitting up. If this doesn't suit you, please bend your knees, roll to your side, sit up in a more comfortable way. If you want to come with me, take a breath in, reach your arms up over the head, and then have a big breath out and a swing forward and up into sitting. If that's not successful, please feel free to sit up in your own way. So I'm taking my socks off now. I encourage you to do the same as we come onto our hands and knees to begin with. Only here to tuck the toes under, to push a little bit forward into the arms, to become strong in the upper body, and then to lift the knees just a fraction off the ground. Hold here. If this is too strong for your wrists, you can step up onto your fists instead. Otherwise, hold it right here. Weight is sitting in the arms, the knees just a fraction off the ground. And from there, let's lift the knees up and come into a downward facing dog. From here, breathe in, round your spine forward. And we're returning back to this position. Bend your knees and let them hover just off the ground. Head might be fairly low, that's okay. And then round back up into your down dog. Only 1 more. Breathe in, roll the spine forward. Bring the weight into the arms, the hands. Then bend your knees and hover them just off the ground. Then lift the hips again, downward facing dog. On your next in-breath, lifting your left leg up into the air. On your out-breath, bring your knee into the chest. And then land the knee down onto the mat. Turn your right foot onto the floor. We'll bring the weight now into the left arm as we're taking a breath in to lift the right one. So we've got a supported side plank here. If you're feeling very strong, you can extend the lower leg as well. Just an option. You might then swing your upper arm all the way in front of your body and extend it then over the head. Doesn't suit, return to the previous position. If you like, you can now also lift the right leg off the mat. Doesn't matter if your knee's on the floor or the leg extended. And then we will release that, but only the hand will come down. We'll leave the right leg lifted. Now you're on all fours or you're in a three-legged dog from here. In that case, lifting the hips upwards. And as you're next breathing out, bring your right knee into the chest and then step the foot forward. You might want to help the foot to get there. That's an option. If your knee was on the ground, please lift it. We will fly the arms out to the sides, really wide. And then only if that is available to you, hooking up the thumbs behind your back. Now with that, we're squeezing into the shoulder blades. Now let's stay in this lunge for a moment. Starting to move your right hip backwards in line with your left, becoming a bit stronger in your stance. Again, this is an extension of what already is, so making your choices. Leaning the weight forward into the right foot, either keeping the back toes on the ground or lifting the leg for warrior three variation. Flexing then the foot so the toes will point down towards the ground. We will release the hook of the thumbs and instead point the fingertips down to the floor right underneath our shoulders. As you breathe in, bend your right knee and maybe your fingertips tapping to the ground. And as you're breathing out, we straighten the leg again, shoulders in their sockets. Only two more here. Breathe in and a breath out to stand up strong. Last one, if you're with me. And then bring your feet parallel together. Lift the arms up all the way. Right over the head, maybe the gaze is lifted too. Lifting through the heart space. At the same time, gently inviting the tailbone downwards. Not forcing it, just gently. And then as you're breathing out, have a sigh into a forward fold. Let your fingertips swing behind you and breathe in. Let the arms come forward into a chair pose. And as you're breathing out, settle into this chair pose. We need a lot of inner strength for chair pose, so use that to support yourself in your back. Then push down into the floor, breathing in, extending once more. Big sigh, forward bend. Now inhaling, come into a half lift. And as you're breathing out, step the right foot back into a lunge. Just lightly allowing the fingertips to touch the ground. And then step the left foot back and we're in a downward facing dog. On a breath in from here, roll the spine forward. Bring the weight back into your arms. Then bend your knees and let them hover just off the ground. Lifting the hips back up into a downward facing dog. And we will now take a breath in and lift the right leg up into the air. As you're breathing out, bring the knee into the chest and then landing the knee down onto the mat. Lower your left foot and place your right hand in position or the fist down for a side plank. As we bring the weight into the right arm, the left one is lifting. Your choice of keeping your right knee on the ground or extending both legs out. Swinging your upper arm in front of you. And if it suits, leaving the left arm extended all the way over the head, reaching forward. Next possible extension here is to lift your left leg. This is possible with extended leg or knee on the floor. We will from here release the left hand down and either lifting the hips for a down dog, or we're on our knees and the left leg is pointing backwards. On the out breath, draw your left knee into the chest and then step the foot forward between your hands. You can help it there and take your time. We will fly the arms back out into a lunge from here. So arms are reaching out wide to begin with. And again, the option of hooking the thumbs up behind your back, but take the unfamiliar hook, the one that feels quite awkward. Keep spreading out through the fingers and then bring the awareness into your lunge. Left hip is encouraged that little bit backwards, so we're not hanging in the hip. Quite strong in our legs. The shoulder blades are quite closed, the chest is open. And from there, if you want to take it further, you will start to lift, to come into a warrior three. The back foot here, you might point your toes downwards so the hip is aligned. Then we're releasing the arms, pointing the fingertips down towards the floor. If that works, breathe in, tap your fingertips to the ground, and then a breath out as you're pushing your legs straight. Can you do 2 more, just the same movement? Bend your knee, tap your fingertips to the ground, and on a breath out, use all your strength to straighten again. Inhale, tap. Exhale, straighten. From here, place the right foot next to the left. Push into both feet. Take a breath in, extend the body. We'll pause again in the extension. So invite your tailbone towards the floor very gently and keep lifting through the heart space. So that way we're moving out away from our lower back and into a back bend that's happening further upwards. Have a big sigh and a bend in the knees to fold. Brushing or lifting the arms behind and brushing the fingertips along the body. Chair pose as you settle in. Let's relax the shoulders in this position. Finding your inner strength to pause there. Breath is flowing. And then push back into the feet. Tall stands, back bend possible. Another side to a forward fold. Inhale, come into a half lift. And as you're breathing out, stepping your left foot back. And then the right into downward facing dog. On a breath in, roll forward again into a plank. Now this time we're holding this plank straight. You might notice that there's a difference to bending the knees and really rounding into the upper back. But we still have a bit of roundedness in the upper back there. The heels are moving backwards. The tailbone might move in direction of the heels. Feel free to bring the knees down at any time here. On a breath in now, push a little bit forward. Knees on or off the mat as we're exhaling, lower down onto the floor and release and untuck your toes. We will extend both arms forward and you can widen them a little bit. So notice what suits your shoulders best. If you need to have your arms bent, that's fine too. Let's bring the legs a little bit further apart as well. So we're nice and wide, but maybe not exceeding mat distance. On your next breath in, let's lift the right arm, the left leg, the head and the chest, but we're keeping actively grounding down into the left hand and the top of the right foot. And we'll just hold here. Maybe even getting a reach and length across the back by stretching from fingertips to toes. And then release that, relax the body. We'll do that again on the other side. On the next breath in, lifting your left arm, right leg, head and chest. And you might press down into the right palm, the top of your left foot. And then beginning to stretch from your fingertips of the left hand to the toes of the right foot while holding. Your gaze would be gently down towards the floor. And then relax that. Soften the whole body back down onto the ground. We will now repeat that, but with both arms and both legs. If you know this is too strong for you, you may alternate. As we do 2 rounds anyway, we'll hold the length once and then once again. Let's breathe in, lifting the body. Now, while you're here, think about the length we've created across the body and bring that back into this shape. Stretch to the fingers, down into the toes, whole body engaged as you're holding. And then release. Allow a moment for the heartbeat to slow down. Get back into some deeper breathing. And we'll do that once again. Breathe in, lift the whole body off the ground. Reach down into the toes, into the fingers. Allow your body a full, long, deep stretch. And then relax it. I will invite you to find a suitable counter pose just by taking the hands by the sides of the rib cage and lifting yourself up onto all fours before stretching back into a child's pose. Feel free to support the child's pose if the head feels a little bit low. Now we've strengthened the front, we've strengthened the back, and a little bit our legs and glutes as well. We will extend the arms forward from here, and then lifting up onto all fours. You might want to separate your knees so they're coming underneath the hips. We will do 3 rounds of up and downward cat. So while you breathe in, soften the elbows, lift your tail and gaze, open the front body. And as you're breathing out, rounding the back body. And here we're using the palms of the hands, the shins. Inhaling, soften the elbows again, lifting tail and gaze. And when breathing out, press down into shins, tops of the feet, your hands deeply round, tuck the chin into the chest. One more, breathing in and out. Now, once again, lifting and opening the front of the body. But then as you're breathing out, squeeze your left hip up towards your shoulder and look down towards the left hip. So after a bit more length now, rather than movement of the spine, we will hold here. And there's an option now to lift the right leg off the ground and swing the right foot across to the left-hand side so that you can look at your left heel. And hopefully that brings more length now into the right side of the body. Staying there for just 2 more breaths. And you can use your deep core belly breathing. Then slide the leg back, bring the knee to the ground, and round your back with the next out breath. As you're breathing in, lifting again, tail and gaze. And then swing your right hip out towards the right shoulder, looking down the direction of the right hip. Now, while we're holding that, there's the option of lifting the left leg off the ground and extending it across to the right-hand side. So your gaze could now be towards your heel. Feeling into the extension on the left-hand side. That might feel different to the previous. And the squeeze into the other. Taking yourself then back onto hands and knees and rounding into your back. I invite you from here to walk the hands up towards the knees and come to stand on the knees. Again, to create a space, or other words, stretch. We will move. So we'll tuck the toes under if possible, keeping your knees at that hip distance or even a little bit further apart. Now I will move all the way back to the heels because I know this is available to me today. You might instead move your hand into your lower back. So let's begin that with the right hand into the lower back, just one hand. Or the right hand onto the heel. We will then swing the left arm over the front of the body and lift it up, shining the palm of the hand upwards. Try not to lean back into the right hand, wherever that might be placed. And then let's move the hips a little bit down as you bend them. Swing your left arm in front of you. Place your left hand into your back or onto the heel and let your right arm swing in front of the body to do the same here. Palm of the hand facing up. Gaze point is up to you. If you want to look up, that subtle chin tuck to protect your neck or to engage it. Otherwise, the gaze could be down here as well. And now we keep this moving. So the arms circled as the hips are bending, changing the hand behind and lifting all the way up. And now I'll leave you with this for a few rounds as you're swirling about. Remind yourself gently that it might be nice to turn the palm of the hand to face upwards and even to stretch out into this palm, the fingers. We'll go once more to each side. And once you're completed, we'll return into child's pose. If your lower back is sore, it might even be nice to keep the toes tucked under, but otherwise you might want to flatten your feet as you come into Balasana. Let's slow back down and reconnect with the breathing. Deep breaths into your belly. As we keep exercising our diaphragm, feeling how the belly hasn't got any room and just moves out into the sides and into the back. Now, if you have high blood pressure, any kind of pressure problems in your head currently, you might actually want to stay here and rest this one out. But otherwise, we're going into a quite extended form of the rabbit. For that, I invite you to bring your hands now, head still lifted, onto your heels. So you're firmly taking a grip of the heels, so you can really hold on to them. I will then ask you to tuck the chin in towards the chest and to place the head down as close towards your knees as is possible. Starting to feel a deeper stretch across your whole back, including the neck and maybe even the back of the head. Now, as you do that, let's pull a bit more on the heels. So you're getting firm and strong arms into this shape. If this all works for you, you can then go deeper and lift your hips off your heels. If the head happens to slide forward, move backwards, tuck the chin back in and keep your head this low. I'm really after full length into the back of the neck and all the way down towards the tailbone. Staying with that, if you can, 2 more breaths only. Strong hold on the heels. And then release that. Bring your hands back forward, stack your fists, bring your head up in line with your heart and rest it on the fists. Soften into the shoulders and pause. We will then roll up into sitting and take our legs out long in front. If your room is as cold as mine, you can put your socks back on. Otherwise, you might need a light support underneath the buttocks as we do go into some forward bending now. You could also, if your lower back is feeling really sore, do that more gently and pop the bolster or cushioning underneath your knees. So it's okay to have your knees bent. There is support by a block or a rolled up mat that you could use underneath the buttocks. Walk out your sit bones a bit, placing your fingertips just by the side of the hips. So we're already preparing into length of the spine rather than rounding. We've just practiced the rounding, now we want the length. Let's take a breath in right here. Then place your hands onto your legs and keep the spine long and create a swaying movement. I've got my feet flexed here, toes pointing upwards, and I'm only taking my hands to the point where I would start to round. So my encouragement for you is to leave your shoulders in their sockets and the hands rather to the outside of the legs so the shoulders remain open. If we were to come forward, there's a more likelihood to come into rounding. Then lower the head just enough so it aligns with the rest of the spine. Close the eyes or steady your gaze and use strong out breaths. The ones that we used at the very beginning where you're drawing your lower abdomen in and downwards. That is expanding on the inhalation, and that breath alone might rock you a little bit out of the pose. Notice now where you're holding back, where there's a need of support, and where you can release. Another 3 breaths. Once you have completed, you will leave your right hand where it is right now. Let go and soften into the left. And then take a deep breath to lift your left arm up and turn it slightly backwards. And you may follow it with the gaze if your neck allows you to. Now the right arm changes to the inside of the right leg, and you're starting to bring arm and leg against each other. If you prefer that, swing the left arm then in front of the body and extend the arm over the head. This is just a preference, not a do so. See if you can stay grounded through the left sit bones as well. Have you tap back into your breathing. We release this side by rolling the arm down and bringing the left arm back to the left leg. Lengthen your spine once again just to center yourself. Then keep a hold of the left leg as it is now. Relax into the right hand. And a deep breath in to lift the right arm and bring it a little bit backwards, following it with the gaze. So going into some openness first. Option from here is to swing this arm in front of the body and then keep it extended over the head instead. Sliding your left arm to the inside of your left leg and to bring a bit of pressure between arm and leg while you're bending sideways to hold here. Gaze could still be upwards or turned down, just checking in with the neck. Each time you're actually looking up, you're applying that subtle chin tuck so that the neck remains engaged and safe. Keep grounding down through the right sit bones. And we'll release it. Let's roll the arm and shoulder in. Soften both hands into the center. Walk them back up and in. And find a cross of your legs. So we'll take a simple cross of the legs, just noticing which leg you've chosen to have in front. Swing to exactly this side and place the back of the front hand against the knee, the fingertips behind, and use your next exhalation to come into a twist. Let your shoulders be relaxed. If you want to take it a little bit deeper, you can swing your arm behind your back and come into half bind. Next breath in, turn the head forward. Then release your arms, lift your legs, change the cross of them as we're changing sides. So back of the hand against the knee, fingertips behind, and out breath for a twist. Of course, could you close your eyes here, whatever suits. And if you want to take it deeper, wrapping the back arm behind, maybe even reaching for a half bind. Then let's turn the head forward, unwind the spine, extend your legs out, and you might give your feet a bit of a wiggle. If you want to put your jumper back on, gather your things for relaxation, it's about time to get there. So I will ask you to roll down slowly onto your back and to cushion yourself up to make your way there. Maybe a cover of blanket. I hope the body feels quite ready for this relaxation. If it doesn't, you might allow this very last wiggle or movement to complete. In your Shavasana, I highly encourage the legs, if they are out long, to really fall to the sides and the toes turning outwards. Otherwise, the feet on the ground and wide apart and the knees dropping inwards if you need that extra support. unless you've got a bolster, of course. Arms falling away from the body, palms facing upwards, allowing all of the softness to arrive in the shoulders. Observing yourself once again, the body as it is right now. Maybe there is a celebration in the body of sensations. Once the stronger sensations fade, you might have a need for a focal point, and as usual, this can be your breathing pattern. Or you could listen to some more about from nothing to everything. When this card comes to us, you're asked to let go, to receive, to become empty, to be filled. This may mean letting go of attachment to a lover so you can receive genuine love. It may be of no longer holding on to a fantasy of your dream job, but of being guided into your most soulful and successful vocation. It may mean letting go of wishes for your body or health to be other than it is, so you can simply get on with living each day. Taking steps into wellness without thinking beyond one day at a time. It is the divine paradox that when we are asked to surrender a story or fantasy, it is because reality is knocking at our door more often than not with the delivery of what we have been fantasizing about, but in the best way for us. The human experience of this paradox is that you may feel you are giving up hope, that your fantasy is dying. It may be very painful and bring you much grief, but all that is dying is your attachment and opinion about how it must be. This needs to happen so you can stop dreaming and start living it. This is what is happening for you now. Do not fear any part of your process. Embrace it without expectation, with trust in your heart that the divine is simply guiding you from fantasy into fulfillment. If possible, keep your eyes closed. But start to deepen your breathing. Move the body in a way that feels good now. And you might even choose to keep your eyes closed to return to a seated position. Once you arrived in your seat, supported or not, just bringing your spine back upright. And then your hands to touch in Anjali Mudra in front of the chest. I encourage you today to really connect to the heart space by bringing the thumbs into the sternum. But not only that, to lift your sternum lightly towards your thumbs. And you might notice a general lift of the body. You could then lightly bow the head. Don't let it hang, just a subtle bow. You might take these words into your own heart space. I choose to trust in the great genius unfolding in my life. I give thanks for the blessings of grace now flowing into my heart. I have no need to know. I trust in the perfection of my being unfolding with innate intelligence and wisdom. I am protected. I accept my destiny with a peaceful and trusting heart. Please help me to surrender the stories, attachments, fantasies, and fears that have held me back from living my heart's desires fully. I now choose unconditional trust in the loving genius of life to lead into my fulfilled destiny now. As we sit here together, we will share these wishes and intentions and extend our awareness to each other. Namaste.